Hello, welcome to this week's edition of Wine Insider. I'm Tom Jiaras from the International House of Wine and Cheese and for winelovers.com, and I'm joined by my co-host
Frank the Internet Wino, and we're always at the Park Avenue Wine Bar. It's kind of cool here today. The lighting is just kind of a little mood style, and
it is. Well,
a lot of people at the bar.
Kids are back at school, and so I think everybody.
So the adults are out playing.
Yeah, and I think they're. I don't know. For some reason, they're softer and more elegant tonight, just like fine aged wine. So how's your week? You have any good wines this week?
We had a holiday party, and we went through a bunch of Bordeaux's, and we went through some Italian wines, a lot of different things. It was really good.
You know, I went out to dinner with some friends at Fleming Steakhouse here. It's a national chain, and they have a chain or a location here in Lincolnshire, and we arranged to bring some wine in, which they don't normally do at that location. I guess there's some kind of local ordinance. I never know if that's a bunch of crap or if it's really, or it's the real thing. But I picked a 1995 Chateau Montelena Cabernet out of a Magnum.
I opened one of those the other day, the Montelena Estate.
Yeah, the Montelena Estate. And it was so good. And I wrote a blog about this, and which you can see at my website for winelovers.com. And they're also up on our radio show, jeffpincus.com.
Right.
But about how, you get these wine snobs who only want to buy Bordeaux for their wine cellars. And Bordeaux is it, and there's nothing else. And Chateau Montelena, this Magnum, and aged, it was so good, and it had such good traditional Bordeaux qualities. You had that nice earthiness, and you had the minerality, and you had a lot of cool things going on, a little bit of cassis and coffee, and it reminded me so much of an aged Bordeaux. It's 15 years old.
There's a couple of California wineries that'll try to hit that Bordeaux quality. Well, quality's not the right word, but style. Yeah,
and,
as opposed to the big
fruit bombs.
Right.
And it was 1995, so it's 15 years old. Granted, it was in a Magnum. Easily 5 to 10 more years.
Yeah,
easily.
Right.
The color was still brilliant. I mean, it was.
Yeah, when it's that old and it comes out as purple as the day it was born, it's really hard to believe.
I kind of challenged the Bordeaux wine snobs and said, if you don't collect something like this, you're really missing out.
Right. Affordable, great wine, gonna last a long time.
Yeah.
What's not to like?
Oh, I agree. So tonight, I thought we'd talk about Super Tuscans.
That's a topic I like to talk about.
Well, run with it.
I just think it's cool that they're so uptight about the fact that putting a California or French grape into their wine has done so much for it. But it really does make an excellent wine, especially when they don't go. I mean, there's varying degrees of cab. Don't they have some kind of ruling that they can't get away with too much cab in there, right?
I don't think so. I think they can do whatever they want because it's not a DOCG wine.
Right.
So they created a category called IGT, which is geographic. I forget. Typico. I forget what the I stands for. But I think they can do whatever they want, frankly.
So it's essentially a table wine. It doesn't have the same designations as DOCG.
So it's above a table wine by the IGT sanction, but I think they can put, usually they're blend of Cabernet, Sangiovese, sometimes Merlot, but I think what you were getting at is the tradition. But they still do have some traditional Italian grapes in there, typically, to give it that. Well, Sangiovese is.
But that's the question: how much Sangiovese would they put in there?
Well, but
it's up to them.
Well, it's up to the winery. I mean, some could be 85% Sangiovese and Cabernet. Some could be 85% Cabernet. Some could be 100% Cabernet.
Right.
And it was, like I started to say, what you were getting at is, it was almost
it was like the new kids coming and messing up the traditions, right?
I'm drawing, the tradition, but it was something that had never been done. Where all of a sudden, what's the word I'm looking for? But it's something that had never been done, and
groundbreaking.
They started, but they started, bringing in and growing Cabernet and making Cabernet and doing things that weren't supposed to be done.
I'm sure they were getting dirty looks from all the traditionalists.
Well. But look at the centuries of tradition.
Right.
And it took centuries to get to that tradition where, in order to be called a Chianti, it's got to be 75 or 80%, whatever. I don't know what the law is there. I'm assuming it's probably 75 to 80% Sangiovese, and it's got to be grown and aged for a certain amount of time to be a Reserva. It has to be so many years in barrel, and all of a sudden these guys are coming and growing these great varietals. Started in the 40s where they started messing around with it and nobody knew.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And Antinori was the first one that publicly went and produced a wine in the Tignanello, and which is primarily Cabernet. And he brought the grape, the vines in. He imported them from Bordeaux.
So essentially, they were saying, "We're going to try something new. We don't care if you're sanctioning it." I mean, I guess it could have been illegal to even make it, but they probably didn't take it that far. They just wouldn't give it. I think it was illegal. Really?
I think
like,
it was.
Totally illegal.
Yeah. Well, I think at first they were, I think, kind of under the radar screen, DOCG in it, and I don't know that for a fact, but that's. I read something today, and that's kind of what the inference was. So. Yeah, I mean, you know, it was scandal. That's the word I was looking for.
And I might not have the facts exactly right, but didn't it somehow revitalize sort of a dying period for Italian wine worldwide, not necessarily locally in Italy?
Well, you know, when I first got into the wine business, Italian wines, kind of the MO about Italian wines, if you buy them, you got to lay them down for 10 years before they're even approachable, because they were huge tannic monsters.
Right.
And I think
you can't even be sure that after 10 years I mean, it's likely, but you could have had a problem still.
Right. So this category started to flourish in, you know, probably in the 80s, early 90s.
That's when I remember it coming on.
And it's become really the rock star of Italy. And most wineries, the wine that they sell for the most money in the Tuscan area is a Super Tuscan, which isn't a Chianti-based wine, Sangiovese-based wine.
But I still love my Barolos and the Amarones and all the other kinds of wines.
But that's not from Tuscany.
Specifically Tuscany, right. I'm all over Italy, you're right.
Right. So it's created wines where these wines sell for more than their finest Chianti Reserva, in most instances. And I don't know, I think now they look at it and say, yeah, we did the right thing.
But I got to think, just that idea that people are liking Italian wines make them explore and end up with the Barolos and the Amarones and Barbaresco.
Well, sure, it promotes the whole country.
Right.
And I mean, Italy,
so they're probably saying, you know, we were reluctant about it, but I guess in the long run it worked out for us.
Right, the traditionalists.
Right.
And there's probably some traditionalists that are
still, they're going to be,
And I'm sure the traditionalists were just beside themselves about the fact that you're bringing vines in from Bordeaux in France, which is like they've been like the, you know, yeah, exactly, totally, you know, exactly, without question. So, but if you haven't tried a Super Tuscans can be priced anywhere from, you know, mid-20s up to hundreds, up to hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
What, I mean, you have a favorite?
No, I really don't. I've had many of them. It's hard for me to remember the names of them because I haven't had that many. So
I can tell you one of my favorites is Antinori Guadaltasso, which is primarily Cabernet based. I could be getting that wrong. Tignanello might be primarily Cabernet based, but I think they both are. I really like that a lot, and Sassicaia is one of my favorites too. Good vintage of Sassicaia, there's nothing like it. So that's it for Super Tuscan, yeah.
So this is the Colazzi?
Colazzi 2005.
Wow.
Just big, it's got big juicy nose, doesn't it?
But not a bomb. Not a California bomb at all.
Got that nice earthiness.
Great earthiness. Great tannins.
Yep.
And a subtle elegance. You know, again, that's for me. That's what I'm looking for in a wine. I really don't want to be punched in the mouth by grapes.
So this is consumable, but yet it will definitely
it'll last for a while.
It will it'll get
maybe
10-15% better with age.
Yeah.
But really a nice drink. You could drink this tonight and be very happy with a nice, big, juicy piece of beef, you know, filet mignon steak. So, anyway, that's all I have to talk about tonight with Super Tuscans.
Try some Super Tuscans. You might be surprised what old world and new world collide. You can get some really good red wine.
So we'll see you next time. I'm Tom Jiaras from the International House of Wine and Cheese and for winelovers.com. And Frank,
see you next time.
See you next time.